webinar on hidden sugars and how to spot them. Like Marina said earlier, my name's Megan. I am a senior food and nutrition student here at UA. I am in the coordinated program in dietetics, and I'm also in the accelerated master's program in human nutrition here at UA. And I have been the student intern here at Wellness and Work Life for the past few weeks. I'm really excited to give this webinar today. So by the end of this webinar, you're going to be able to read a nutrition facts label to see how many grams of added sugar are in the product and equate that to teaspoons, so it's a little bit easier to visualize. You're also going to be able to read an ingredients list to spot those hidden sugars, identify the risks of disease caused by consuming too much sugar, and you're also going to be able to identify those healthier choices to curb your sugar cravings. So to start off, did you know that Americans consume an average of 17 teaspoons of sugar per day? So you can imagine a teaspoon, equate that to 17, and that's how many the average American consumes per day. And the overconsumption of sugar, I want to quickly mention, can lead to obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, dental caries, kidney and liver disease, cognitive issues, and colon and pancreatic cancers. And we're going to get into more detail about these topics later. So first off, to start, what are hidden sugars? Why are we here talking about this? So hidden sugars are added sugars, which means that they're not naturally occurring in fruits or in foods, but they're labeled, and they're not labeled as sugar on an ingredients label. You're not going to see the word sugar. They're going to be labeled as something else, but they still contribute to the total sugar content of the product. And they also provide extra calories, but they don't provide any nutrients. So they don't have any vitamins or minerals or any nutrients that are going to make it a healthy product, but they're going to provide a lot of extra calories. So I'm going to define some terms that I'm going to throw around in this webinar later on, just because it can get kind of confusing. So like I just mentioned, hidden sugar, those are the sugars added to a product that are not labeled as sugar, but they contribute to that total sugar content. Added sugars are sugars that are added to a product during production and processing. Natural sugars are like fructose, which are in fruit, and lactose in milk that naturally occur in these foods. They are not added to a food product. And then total sugars are the natural sugars and added sugars that are in a product added together. So why are sugars added to foods? You might think just because of sweetness, because sugar is sweet, but that's not the case. They can be added to add color to baked goods. They also improve the taste and consistency of low-fat foods. So a lot of times when manufacturers they try to make low-fat versions of foods, they lose that good flavor and consistency that the fat brings into that product. So a lot of the times they'll add sugar to make up for that lost flavor. And sugars also can be added to preserved foods like in jams and jellies. They also add bulk to baked goods and ice cream, and they balance the acidity in foods like vinegar, tomatoes. That's why a lot of recipes for like tomato sauce ask you to add a little bit of sugar into it just to balance that acidity. So on this slide, we have a really nice chart that shows you all the different ways that sugar can be added to different foods. So at the top, you see what the sugar does to be added and what it helps. And then on the left side, you'll see all the different types of food products that they're added to. So you can see that basically sugar is added to all of these to help enhance the flavor, also to add bulk and improve the texture. They can also improve the shelf life in a lot of like grains, like breads, whole grain cereals, to baked goods. They also help with the fermentation process of like dairy products, which would be like yogurt or fermented beverages. They add a lot of color as well, and they also help with moisture retention. So I really like this chart. It just shows you that there are so many different ways that sugar can be added to a product that you wouldn't even think of, because it's not just adding sweetness to food. So you might think that just like baked goods or sweets like candies and chocolates might have added sugar with them, but you wouldn't think that pickles would have added sugar with them as well. So I really like this chart. So with hidden sugars, the whole point of them is that you don't know that they're sugars that are added. They have different names on the ingredient labels, so you can't tell that there's been sugar added to them. So here are some other names that also mean sugar. Anything that says the word syrup. So that's high fructose corn syrup, maple syrup, corn syrup, rice syrup. Those are also all added sugars. Those all mean sugar. Anything that ends with OSE. So that's maltose, dextrose, fructose, lactose, and glucose. Those also all mean sugar. That ending OSE means sugar. So if you see that on an ingredients list, you'll know that there's been sugar added to that product. Also, anything like honey or agave, nectar, that is all added sugar as well. Same with fruit juice concentrates. So if you see a fruit juice that you're buying and it says made from concentrate, or in the back it says apple juice concentrate, know that that means there's added sugar in it. And then also, in addition to hidden sugars, added sugars also include like brown sugar, cane sugar, confectionery sugar. So if you see that on the back of a label, just know that that's added sugar as well, even though it's not technically hidden because it says sugar in it. So I wanted to also specifically mention high fructose corn syrup. I know this was a hot topic a few years ago, but it's still really prevalent. So high fructose corn syrup is derived from corn syrup, which is made from corn starch, and then it's modified. It changes those glucose molecules to fructose molecules. And then there's conflicting evidence about how high fructose corn syrup affects your metabolism and its correlation to obesity rates. But we know that it's an added sugar, so that means we should definitely limit it in our diets. And so now I have a poll question for you guys to answer really quick about the nutrition facts label. We can get that one pulled up. Perfect. Here we go. So I just wanted to know if you guys look at the nutrition facts label before you buy a certain food product. Just wait a minute for y'all to answer. Got a few more of you.
I was gonna see if we could get to 100, but
Oh, we're almost there. We got to a couple more. Well, we got to about 84% of you. 21 out of 25 answered so far. But so the answer to this, so you got, most of you are looking at your food labels. That's really good to hear. Well, then for those some that aren't, well, hopefully this little slide will help you guys kind of understand the importance of a nutrition facts label and also understand how to read it, so that you'll be able to look at it in the future. I can't get this to go off my screen. There we go. Okay. So the new nutrition facts label, and I say new because it's actually changed in recent years to make it more user-friendly and to emphasize some different points on the label. So I kind of wanted to go over a brief topic of all of it. So the serving size. So as you see on this one, it says that there's 8 servings per container. So that means if you eat the entire thing, you're actually eating 8 servings. So that's something to be mindful of when you're choosing some smaller products too, because you might think a certain granola bar is only, you would think just 1 bar is 1 serving, when in reality, a lot of the times that's actually 2 servings or 3 servings. So if you eat the whole bar, you're eating more than what is typically eaten or recommended. So that's something to look forward to or look at. And then they've also emphasized the amount of calories. They made it a larger font size so that you can see that easier. And then I wanted to go over this percent daily value, which is on the right hand side of the nutrition facts label, because a lot of people don't know what that means. So that the percent daily value is how much that macronutrient or that nutrient in general makes up of your total calories per day. So a value higher than 20% is a high percentage for your daily value. And then less than 5% is a low value for your daily consumption. And then for sugars, I wanted to mention that they've now separated the added sugar content from the total sugar content. On the old nutrition facts label, it just used to say sugars and the amount. There was no differentiation between the natural sugars and the added sugars. So the total sugars are the added sugars plus the natural sugars added together, like I said earlier. And now that they've separated the added sugars, you can see how many are specifically just of those. And that's a really important value to look at because we want to limit those added sugars to less than 10% of our calories per day. So that is a number we're going to be looking at a lot during this webinar and certain labels. So just remember that. And then also the ingredients list, which you can't see in this picture, but is also another important thing to look at when you're looking at the back of a food product, because they're listed in descending order by weight. So those first 3 ingredients are really important because those are what's going to make up most of the product. That first ingredient is going to be what weighs the most in the product, and then it's going to go down from there. So before we get into some of the common foods that are often hidden or contain a lot of hidden sugar, these are the added sugar recommendations, and I want you to really keep these numbers in mind as we go throughout the rest of the webinar. So for women, the American Heart Association recommends 6 teaspoons a day of added sugar, which is about 25 grams, if that makes more sense. Or for men, it is 9 teaspoons a day, which is about 36 grams. And they also equivalent it to calories in this image. For men, it's 150 calories, and women, it's 100 calories. But I want you to keep those in mind, 6 and 9 for the rest of this webinar, because these are really important. So here's another kind of comparison that I think will be really helpful. If you can think about a sugar cube, that is equal to 4 grams of sugar. And then 1 sugar cube is also equal to about 1 teaspoon. So now we're going to get into some of the common foods with hidden sugars in them. And we're going to do another poll really quick about some of the common beverages. So how many times a week do you drink a regular soda, sweet tea, or sports drink? Okay, awesome. Okay, this is looking good. So a lot of you are not eating or not drinking these a lot during the week, only 0 to maybe 1 a week. And then it kind of goes up from there. Awesome. Looks good. Okay, so now we're going to talk about these beverages and how much added sugar is in them. So the gold standard for this topic is usually a can of Coca-Cola. So this 12-ounce can actually has 39 grams of added sugar in it. And like I just said in the previous slide, 4 grams is equal to about 1 sugar cube or 1 teaspoon. So this is equivalent to about almost 10 teaspoons of added sugar, which is like 10 sugar cubes, if you can think about eating that versus just drinking a can of Coke. And the second ingredient in this after water is high fructose corn syrup. So just think about that, it's the high fructose corn syrup we were talking about being bad earlier is actually the second ingredient in this can. And then if you think about a Gatorade bottle, which we think Gatorade tends to be a little bit healthier, that's a sports drink, it actually is packed with added sugar. So in this bottle right here, this is a larger than standard bottle of Gatorade. And it actually has 2.5 servings per container. So this is when reading that nutrition facts label and looking at the serving size is really, really important. Because if you just drink 1 serving, which is 12 ounces, you'd be consuming about 21 grams of added sugar, which is about 5.25 teaspoons of added sugar. But if you drink the whole bottle, which is 2.5 servings, you're actually consuming 48 grams of added sugar, which is 12 teaspoons of added sugar, which is just crazy. And then if you look down at the ingredients list, you'll see it's water, then sugar, and dextrose. You see that OSE, that means sugar. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that sometimes it says sugar, which you can see, and sometimes it doesn't. So dextrose is a great example of one of those hidden sugars. And then this is kind of another fact that almost half of added sugars in the American diet come from sugar sweetened beverages. So that's what's going to be the Coke, the Gatorade, sweet tea, things like that, where sugar's been added. So here is a healthier option if you want. This is a juice comparison. So this cranberry juice cocktail has 25 grams of sugar. This is the old nutrition facts label, actually. And you can see that it just says sugar is 25 grams. You don't know how much added sugar has been added to it. But if you look down at the ingredients list, you'll see that there's cranberry juice concentrate and sugar next to it. So you'll see that there has been sugar added to it. And then a healthier choice would be the Simply Orange juice. If you can see down at the bottom, it says not from concentrate. And at the top, it says no added sugar. So that's how you know that that's a healthier choice. There's been no added sugar to it. And then if you look at the nutrition facts label, it says 100% fruit juice at the top and then includes 0 grams of added sugar. So when you're looking at juices at the grocery store, make sure you're looking that it says 100% fruit juice on it, no added sugar, and then look at the ingredients list as well. Here's another common food that has added sugar in it. A lot of the time is breakfast cereals. So I tried to pick 2 that seem a little bit healthier. You got your Special K, your Honey Nut Cheerios, rather than, Frosted Flakes or Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which you would definitely know has a lot of sugar in it. But these 2 actually have a surprising amount as well. So the Special K, if you look at the ingredients, it says sugar, brown sugar syrup, another added sugar that you wouldn't know, and then 10 grams of sugar added sugar per serving. And that's just without the milk. And then if you see in the total sugars, it actually goes up when you add milk to it. And that's because that's that natural sugar in the milk, the lactose. So that's what causes that number to go up rather than just the added sugars, because milk is a source of natural sugar. And then our Honey Nut Cheerios, this has 12 grams of added sugar in it. And you can look at all the ingredients in this list. It's a very long list, but it has sugar, honey, which is another added sugar, brown sugar syrup. So even these healthier options also have added sugar in them. So it's just something to be mindful of and why we're doing this, so that you can learn how to look at the back of the label and see that. Here are some healthier options. If you still love your cereal, a shredded wheat is a good alternative. It just has wheat in the ingredients and no added sugar. And then also oats. So like oatmeal, overnight oats, that is a great alternative to cereal. It has more fiber and it's more nutrient dense without that added sugar. Another common food is yogurt. So one thing to look for on yogurt is these claims. So this Yoplait, it says made with real fruit, but if you look, it includes 13 grams of added sugar. And on the ingredients list, that is the sugar is an ingredient before the strawberries, if you see that right there. So it actually has more sugar than strawberries in the yogurt. So that's something to definitely look for in yogurt. And that 13 grams, remember, that's about 3 1/4 teaspoons of sugar. And then we have the Chobani Greek yogurt. You might think Greek yogurt, it is a little bit healthier, it's high protein content, but it's really mindful. You want to be mindful of those added sugars still, because this one has 9 grams of added sugar, which is about 2 1/4 teaspoons, and it has cane sugar in it as well. So if you still love your yogurt, which I do too, it's a much better option to choose plain yogurt without the added sugar to it. And then you can add your own fruit or a little drizzle of honey, just a light one, adding cinnamon to enhance that flavor and add that sweetness without adding too much sugar. And then this one's a heartbreaker for a lot of people, but a common food that has an alarming amount of added sugar is our condiments. So I wanted to bring up ketchup and our Sweet Baby Ray's. The ketchup has tomato concentrate in it and high fructose corn syrup and normal corn syrup. So you can see on the ingredients that it has hidden sugars in there too. And then our Sweet Baby Ray's has 16 grams of added sugar for just one serving, which is 2 tablespoons, which is about just a squirt of it, maybe a little larger of a squirt, but just one squirt has 16 grams of added sugars, which is 4 teaspoons. And that 4 teaspoons equals 4 sugar cubes. If you can imagine eating 4 sugar cubes alone in just a squirt of Sweet Baby Ray's. And what's even more alarming is the first ingredient of Sweet Baby Ray's is high fructose corn syrup. So that is what makes up the most of this condiment is high fructose corn syrup. It has pineapple juice concentrate, molasses, corn syrup, sugar, all in there. Those are all hidden sugars. But a healthier alternative, you don't have to give it up, which is the best thing. They've made a no sugar added version. So choosing that one over the normal brand or the normal kind will help decrease that added sugar content and be an overall healthier choice. So the last one we wanted to go over was common food would be canned foods. This is like bringing up like canned fruit, but that's also like tomato sauce, canned tomatoes, soups, canned vegetables. It's just overall canned food, something to look for. And this one, it's mandarin oranges in light syrup. So first off, it has 15 grams of added sugars, which is about 3 3/4 teaspoons, almost 4 teaspoons in just this health canned fruit. The ingredient in there is sugar. And then what I wanted to point out was this in light syrup. So in light syrup means there's sugar been added to it, and you want to try to avoid that. So by choosing the mandarin oranges in 100% fruit juice is what's going to be that healthier option. You want to choose that one over the in light syrup because there's going to be no sugar added to that. There we go. Awesome. So now why should you care about how much added sugar you're consuming? Why should you care about how this is going to affect your health? This is why. So for the short-term effects, one, it's going to spike your blood sugar really quick, and then you're going to have a sugar rush, and then you're going to crash because these sugars are really simple in their makeup. So they're going to be absorbed really quickly into your digestive system and taken up into your blood and cause this sugar rush and crash because it's not a sustainable form of energy. So you're also going to feel hungry again a lot quicker because it's not going to last in your system or make you feel fuller longer. So you're going to feel hungry in about probably 30 minutes, depending on what you've eaten. And then you're going to want to eat more later. So that's going to help make you consume more calories and not feel it because you're not as satisfied and not as full. And it also signals a dopamine to release in your brain that can trigger this addictive effect to sugar. And it makes you, because the dopamine makes you feel happy after you eat your sugar. And it tricks your brain into wanting this more and more and more. And the more you eat, the more it's going to require to get the same effect. So it causes addiction to sugar that's really hard to break. And then we're going to go over this little chart about those highs and lows, the sugar rushes and crashes. So this green area is kind of the area you want your blood sugar to remain in. You just want little highs, little lows. It's a pretty maintainable level. So we're going to go through it together. So we start out with this remaining blood sugar from your previous meal. We'll just start that out in the middle. And then you start to get hungry. And so you eat, if you eat a sugary carby breakfast, your blood sugar is going to spike. It's going to go really high because it's quickly absorbing all of that sugar into your blood. And so right away, you're going to feel energized. You're going to feel good because you've just eaten all this sugar, but it's not a sustainable form of energy. And that insulin, which is a hormone that takes in that glucose, it's going to take it from the blood and send it to your cells. And so then it's going to reduce, that takes the glucose out of your blood system. So it makes your blood sugar decrease again, but it's going to decrease really fast. And so that's that crash. And it's going to make you feel irritable, tired, and annoyed. And so you don't want to feel that way. Who wants to feel annoyed and tired all the time? So you're going to eat again. You're going to grab another snack and it's going to go up again. It's going to spike. And then it's going to do the same thing. Your insulin's going to take that sugar and move it from your blood to your cells. So your blood sugar decreases and it's going to go down again. And it's just this vicious cycle of up and down where you never feel good. And this roller coaster can cause hanger, which is hungry anger, mood swings, sugar cravings, those deep crashes, and like a depression from this up and down all the time. So now those are just the short-term effects. And now we're going to get into the long-term effects of what this overconsumption of sugar can do to you in the long term. So one, it can cause obesity. And just a little stat is that 39% of adults in Alabama are obese, which is the third highest state in the nation. And this obesity or this overconsumption of sugar can cause obesity because you're consuming all those extra calories. So like I said earlier, if you're eating sugar, it's not a very sustainable form of energy in your body. So you're going to get hungry really quick, which means you're probably going to eat more later. So you're consuming extra calories. And if you had just had a really sustainable meal with, whole grains and fats and protein, that's going to keep you fuller longer, that's going to be less calories. And if you had eaten a sugary meal and then gotten hungry again and eaten another sugary meal and just kept going along with that. Also, if you eat too much sugar, your body actually converts that excess sugar that it's not using for energy. It's going to turn that into fat and store that fat. So that's what's going to cause that obesity as well. It's also the overconsumption of sugar can cause diabetes, because over time you're putting your insulin and your pancreas, which produces the insulin, under a lot of stress because it's constantly getting that glucose and trying to put that from your bloodstream into your cells. It's going to cause an insulin resistance. So your pancreas and your insulin they're not going to work as well, causing your blood sugar to be high a lot of the time because it can't shuttle that glucose from your bloodstream into those cells. And so over time, that's just going to be really stressful on your pancreas, and it can cause diabetes. Obesity is also another cause for diabetes because of that insulin resistance. So as well, obesity is a main cause for a lot of these other diseases we're going to talk about. Dental caries, so those are cavities. We all know if you eat too much sugar, you're going to get a cavity. But that's actually caused by the bacteria in your mouth. It's going to metabolize that sugar and it's going to produce an acid, which is going to corrode your teeth. So that's just the mechanism behind that. Overconsumption of sugar can also cause cardiovascular disease, which is the leading cause of death in Alabama. And overconsuming sugar actually gives you a 38% greater risk of dying from cardiovascular disease, which is a very large percentage. And that's because overconsumption of sugar increases your blood pressure and causes inflammation. And then obviously it also causes obesity and diabetes, which are other main risk factors for developing cardiovascular disease. And then overconsumption of sugar can also cause kidney and liver diseases because your liver is metabolizing that excess sugar into fat, which can cause fat accumulation and a fatty liver, which damages your liver and makes it not work as well. So it can cause liver disease. And then it also can cause cognitive problems and colon and pancreatic cancers as well. So here are some better choices I wanted to give you so that you don't take away from this just that sugar is all bad. These are just some better choices that you can make to decrease those added sugars. Simple swaps that you can make because you can't get rid of added sugar altogether. It's in, like I showed in that chart earlier, it's in almost everything we eat. But these are just some really simple swaps that you can make every day to help decrease that added sugar intake. So instead of having a soda or fruit juice, or not the 100% fruit juice, but the other fruit juice that contains concentrate or another sugar sweetened beverage, try drinking 100% fruit juice like the orange juice I showed earlier, or even just cutting up fruit and adding that to your water. That way you'll get that natural sweetness, that natural sugar from the fruit while staying hydrated and not getting a bunch of that added sugar as well. Another thing is your unsweet tea. So sweet tea has a lot of added sugar in it, I'm sure you know, but sometimes swapping that for an unsweet tea and putting a lemon slice in there to get a little extra sweetness would be a much better option than drinking sweet tea all day, every day. Even just sometimes making that switch. You don't have to do it every time, even though that's what would be best, but even just sometimes decreasing that added sugar intake by making that swap. Like I said earlier, oats are a great alternative to those sugary cereals. You can add cinnamon or fresh fruit to your oats to add that sweetness back. And those are going to keep you fuller longer because they're higher in fiber, protein, and they're overall more nutrient dense. They have those vitamins and minerals. On your yogurt, for that plain yogurt, to add that sweetness back by adding fruit or cinnamon on top of that would be a great idea. Like I said, again, the canned fruit and its own fruit juice, not in the syrup. And then using like spices and herbs instead of sugar. So you can use like mint or, like I said, cinnamon would be great alternatives instead of adding sugar. And now we're going to play a little video that I found that I think is going to be really helpful for when you're in the grocery store, things to look for, because there's just so many options nowadays.
We're in a supermarket today to talk about sugar. It's everywhere in so many foods. Over here, sugar is so bad for you. Added sugars, hidden sugars. Where is it lurking in all the foods you eat? Let's go take a look. So we're here in the We're in a supermarket today to talk about sugar. It's everywhere in so many foods. Over here, sugar is so bad for you. Added sugars, hidden sugars. Where is it lurking in all the foods you eat? Let's go take a look. So we're here in the yogurt aisle. Most of the yogurts that you see have added sugars of 2, 3, 4, or even more added sugars. You see some colorful things or pieces of fruit, but it's not real fruit. This is blended in. There's a lot of extra added sugar. The best tip is to start out with some plain yogurt and add your own fruit, fresh fruit, a teaspoon of your favorite jelly or jam to this to sweeten it up. Another way to reduce the sugar that's in yogurt is to look for low sugar versions, but always watch the portions because that makes a difference too. So let's talk about oatmeal. Who doesn't love these little single serve packages? Always look for original because these little packets are loaded with sugar, whether it says apple, cinnamon, or spice. There's going to be at least 3 teaspoons per serving in one of those little packets. Add 1 teaspoon of regular sugar to plain original oatmeal. That is still going to save you 2 or 3 teaspoons compared to the already sweetened one that you're pouring right into the container. We're here in the condiments aisle where sugar can be lurking everywhere, especially in products like ketchup, chili sauce, and barbecue sauce, all those red things. 1 squirt of ketchup is going to have about a teaspoon of sugar. So use with caution. If you're a big ketchup user, you want to switch to a lower sugar version or switch to mustard. We are here in the pasta sauce aisle looking at different jars. If you're looking for added sugars, here's an aisle you better really start, stop, and read the labels. When it comes to sugar, some brands have less than a teaspoon per half-cup serving, but others will have a full 3 teaspoons of sugar in just 1 half-cup serving. So read the labels, and you can always make your own. That can be a hassle, but you can make some 3-ingredient sauce, start with canned tomatoes. It does take a while, but you'll save a lot of sugar. So what's a person to do? Instead of getting a packaged calorie bomb like cakes or cookies, think about what's in nature, and that is fruit. Fruit is nature's candy, whether it's fresh or it's dried, whatever you like to have. So you can eat healthy and indulge your sweet tooth by having smart sugar swaps.
Awesome. Well, I hope that video is a little bit helpful to see what you can look for in the grocery store. I know some of her options are a little out there, like swapping to mustard or picking a piece of fruit over a cookie, because those are not really the same. But I hope some of those were helpful when you go to the grocery store. And now I wanted to go over something that is really confusing to a lot of people, is these claims that you can see on different fruit products now. So what do they really mean? So we have sugar-free, which I'm sure you've seen a lot nowadays. This means that there's less than 0.5 grams of sugar per serving, or there's no ingredient on the ingredients list that is labeled as sugar, or it's not sugar at all. Then we have reduced sugar or less sugar. So this means that there's 25% less sugar per serving compared to the standard kind of product. So if you see this fruit snacks, this one is the reduced sugar version. So compared to the normal kind of fruit snacks, this one has 25% less sugar. Then we have no sugar added, which means that there's no sugar or sugar containing ingredient that's added during processing. And then there's low sugar, which if you see it, that's really not a good thing because it's not actually allowed as a claim on labels. So take caution if you see anything that says low sugar, and make sure you're reading the back because it's not a valid claim. And then I also want to talk about non-nutritive sweeteners or artificial sweeteners. So these are low calorie options that do not provide any nutrients as well. So they don't have vitamins or minerals in them, but they can be seen as a better option because they don't provide any calories. So these are going to be in like your diet soda or that kind of version. The FDA has an approved list that are safe for foods and beverages. So these are aspartame, which the brand name is NutraSweet or Equal, acasulfame K, which is sweet one, neotame, saccharin, which is sweet and low, and sucralose, which is Splenda. And just a reminder that these are FDA approved as safe. So now the takeaway of this webinar, what I want you guys to be able to take away from this is, one, the recommendation for added sugar, which is again 36 grams for men or 9 teaspoons, and 25 grams for women, which is 6 teaspoons. Making sure you're looking at that nutrition facts label and the ingredients so that you can see the added sugar content. I want you to know that overconsumption of sugar can lead to certain diseases like obesity, dental caries, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular problems, as well as other health issues. And then I want you to know that sweets and sugar can be part of a healthy diet. I'm not telling you to take out all your sweets or all your carbs, but they definitely need to be put in moderation. So to prevent developing those diseases that I've just mentioned. And then I'm going to leave you with some resources. Some of these are really good for just learning about sugar overall or health issues. The 2020 to 2025 dietary guidelines are good for an overall picture of what your diet should look like. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration is a really good resource for nutrition facts labeling. So I just wanted to leave you guys with these in case you wanted to look back and further your education on this topic. And then now I'm going to open it up for questions. I saw that there are a bunch in the chat already, so I'm going to try to go through those.
I'll also stop recording.